Hello YouTube, this is Miguel with Green Saber Games. I've got the two boxes from Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures that I got a couple votes on, and I think we're going to go with the Phase Spider as opposed to the Dwarf Cleric, which I'm happier about because, again, the Dwarf Spider has some big sweeping arcs, and the Dwarf Cleric is a little more intricate and complicated, but we'll get to him eventually. And we're not going to do the Phase Spider right now, but he's probably lined up next. What we're going to do right now is one of my players had an encounter. One of my players being this guy in my current D&D campaign. He had an encounter with one of these, a werewolf. So I just had to take the opportunity to jump on doing a new Nolzur mini, and I already have a cool base kind of color scheme to work off of. So I'm going to jump right into this one, and we'll do the Phase Spider probably next time. So setting my little elf ranger aside, the werewolf, as imagined by D&D and Wizkids, is kind of this bluish tint monster. He's got some kind of sandy stuff going on in his claws. He's got this tan loincloth with belts, and if you can look real close there, you've got some belt buckles in there. This version 2 of the mini sculpt has a little hand, and I think that's awesome. You can actually see he's still wearing gloves. For the purposes of this mini, I'm going with the number 1 sculpt, because I think his kind of loincloth and all his belts match up pretty well with my Elven Ranger over here. So they'll probably end up being red and brown and gold. And I'll go over the colors here in a minute. So, let's open these up. The first thing I do when I look at a mini is I try to imagine what colors I'm aiming for. And while I like the art that they put on the back, it's not quite what I think I want to hit. So let's get our Sculpt number 1 mini out. Save the little bases over here. And here we go. This guy goes in the to-do box over here with the rest of the to-dos. So looking at this mini, first off, there's a little loss of detail kind of down in the belt area. The belt buckle that's visible clearly in the art is very difficult to read off of the mini itself. Like, I can get a faint outline of it, but it's going to be real tough to actually paint that little bit. There's some pretty big gaps all around the neck of the werewolf where it looks like they attach the head. There's a pretty big gap line down here, kind of under here, if you can see that, which I suppose isn't too terrible. I do have green stuff, but I'm not going to play with it in this specific video. I'll probably give it a shot if there's something in the Phase Spider that I can work with, but right now I just wanted to get some paint on this mini because the opportunity for the werewolf to come up in my campaign just happened immediately, so I had to jump on the new mini. Let's see here. He's got some nice spinal details going on there, if you can see that. Where he's got this nice, like, pulsing vertebrae coming out of his back. The loincloth and the cloth down there is actually really nice. It's all tattered and ripped, and I really like that. It's going to make it real easy to match the Mephiston Red from the Elven Ranger over there. Let's see, we've got a nice mold line there, which I'm going to let go. I let a lot of this stuff go just because I know how tough it can be to manufacture stuff of this small detail, but I'm also a new painter, so I'm not quite as picky yet. So I think those are the big things I'm looking at right now. His teeth are a little tough to pick out from a modeling perspective, from like an actual plastic mold quality perspective. It's really difficult to pick out where his teeth are in the mouth. But I like the hair, and I like the loincloth, and I like the striation lines in his kind of oblique area down here, and you can see his muscles are kind of wrapping over his shoulder there. Giant calves. Really rocky ground. Rocky ground I'm going to keep. Like I could go through the hassle of rebasing him, but I think I like these rocky grounds that come with them, for now anyway. So yeah, in terms of the models that I've painted so far, this is probably the one with the most gaps and the most mold lines, just overall. But I think the detail makes up for that detail kind of in the loincloth area and in the head, not counting the teeth. The teeth are a little bit messy. Cool. So let's go over real quick the paint scheme that I kind of have envisioned for him. So I liked the blue. When I was looking at the art, I liked the idea of painting him blue. But I wanted to mix it up with a little purple, so I'm going to go with a 1-to-1 mix of Caledor Sky and Narraroth Night. You can see that right there, Caledor Sky and Narraroth Night. Ceramite White for the teeth. I obviously try to get those pearly whites shining in contrast to the relatively dark fur and skin color that I've got going on. Using some XV88 to try to put the dust on his hands. Little Mephiston Red to match the Elven Ranger. Some Rhinox hide for his belts, as you can see under there. So we've got Rhinox hide to follow up on that. We've got some Ghenna's gold because the Ranger's got gold belt buckles, and to finish it all off, some Mechanist standard gray for the base, because I like the rocky base. So looking at it, it almost looks more muddy. I might have to go with XV88 on that too. Like rocky and kind of muddy. Depending on how all that comes out, I'm probably going to follow it up with an Agrax Earthshade wash. And I think that's it. I've got everything else laid out just like I like to have it. I've got my my mixing dish here. Got my rag. I spent a while looking for my rag. I couldn't find it today. Got my paint water. Got my water. And let's get going. I'm going to try a new thing here. I'm going to leave the video running and see how I can do speed up. So what's probably going to be I'm probably only going to get actually half hour, maybe an hour and a half of painting in today, but you guys are going to see it real fast. So let's go. So hello again. Sorry about those technical issues. I'm gonna get that worked out next time I shoot a video. I'm done with the first coat of just the base kind of skin and fur. I do like the color. I slapped it on a little thick. If anything, I would have done a little less paint and a little more water. So I did lose a little bit of detail, but as it, let's see if I can get it focused here. Come on. No, you're not going to focus for me. Okay. Give me 1 second, and I'll give you a good focus shot. There we go, a little better. I did lose a little detail, kind of in the abs like I was talking about. Trying to stay focused here. One thing I noticed is as I was working on this, the gap in the back became much more pronounced. And I probably should have filled that in. It's like a long cut across his back. You can see it real bad right there. And I didn't even realize how bad it was until I started seeing it. Started seeing it come out in the paint. So it's pretty big. Like you can see, that's just enormous. So if I were to do this again, which I'll consider it, I'll consider doing the same sculpt twice because who knows, you get better over time. So you may as well go back and revisit some stuff. That would be something I definitely try to fix. It's just that huge cut. That's not like intentional, and it's not like, it's just the way it's manufactured that's causing that line. So I laid it on a little thick. Well, just a spot right there. But I'm going to keep powering through it. And there we go, laying it on thick again. And move on to his kind of loincloths and the other large paint area. And I'll see you in a bit. Now you can see I'm going a lot thinner with this red. I don't want to make the same mistake that I just did with the base coat. And some of that will go away as it dries up, I'm sure. But just to be on the safe side, let's get into it. So I got the loincloth kind of how I wanted it, like I said. I think I'm going to try making a couple more of those holes, like holes all the way to the bottom like that one. I think they're a good detail to have, but I just went over them all with red for right now. Thinning it out was a little more challenging because the paint was just kind of liquid and wanted to go everywhere. It did get a little pooled back here, so I lost a little detail on the back. But overall, still going well. Still pretty happy. I think I did a much better job of thinning the paints on the loincloth than I did in the actual body. Like there you can see, well, you can still kind of see the striations for the abs, so that's not too bad. The head's a little weird. The head's a little glossied over, and it's got that plastic look. So we're getting closer. We're getting closer to turning this guy right here into this guy right here. We'll see. So next up, I got to do the belts, probably. See if I can find those belt buckles that are supposed to be in the picture. Like, it's really difficult to see it. It's like maybe right there-ish. Right there. I'll give this a little bit of time because those are the two major color schemes, and I want everything under there to be just set and painted so I don't have to worry about it. And I will get back to it in a minute. Getting back to it, I've got my highlighting brush so I can put in those little details and touch up some of the spots where the red went a little far. So let's do it. I'm going to give it a second for the paint to fill and to dry out in those little pools, and I'll probably go over them again. So just give it a stop there. So he's starting to come together. I'm going to start putting the details on now. I'm going to look for the belt and the belt buckle, and then put on a little dusting of XV88 on the hands. Work on his Ceramite white teeth and probably his claws. His claws are all going to be... Oh, I'm just going to go with black. I think I'll go with black claws. So I'm going to hit the jump and see you in a bit. So this is where he's at. I had so much trouble trying to get the teeth right, and they look a little mangled, but I think after a wash they'll come out better, or he's just kind of foaming at the mouth. I tried to do his eyes in kind of a red, a Mephiston Red and Ghenna Gold for that kind of sparkling look, and I filled in his ears too, just because I thought his, dog's ears have pink on the inside. I was able to find kind of the remnants of the belt buckle. It is so lightly detailed and ill-defined even at the model. The mold level, it was really difficult to see even then, so I kind of added this triangle thing that he's got under his arm that looked like the belt looped through it. I did manage to find the belts. Once I found those lines, it became really clear what I was really looking for. So I think the belts are actually a nice touch. There we go. One thing I'm noticing is this back foot keeps getting rubbed off. If if I had a model holder or something else to hold the base by, I think that would go away. But as of right now, it's kind of a problem. So yeah, this is probably... Oh, right, I have to do the XV88 kind of dry brush dusting. I'm going to try to dry brush it. And then probably do the Agrax Earthshade and Mechanist Gray and see how he looks based. Let's do it. So last step before the wash, just wanted to say I'm pretty happy with how that light dry brushing turned out. You can kind of see the detail, especially like in this hand. It looks really nice. Let's see if it's gonna, there you go. This brings out different details. I got a little liberal with it on the feet because I was trying to cover up those parts that got rubbed off, but I think it turned out okay. I'm just gonna do the base now, and then Agrax Earthshade and see how it looks. So I went with XV88 for the base, and I like it a lot more than the Mechanist Standard Gray or Rhinox hide that I was planning on doing. It fits in with the dry brush a little bit, so you can kind of see his hands are muddy from running around on all fours. I really like it so far. I'm going to hit it with the Agrax Earthshade, try to get it really, really light, because historically my minis have been really just way covered in Agrax Earthshade, just way too much. So I'm going to try to keep it minimal, maybe 1 or 2 brushes worth, and see how it goes. So this will be probably the final cut. I'm coming up on about an hour and a half of work so far, and it's rubbing off a little bit. So I'm going to put the wash on and see how it goes. Okay, this is how he's gonna end up. Just finished applying the Agrax Earthshade wash. Brought out a couple of details, made him a little bit darker on the whole, but really adds shadows and, oh, there we go. Really makes the whole mini come together. There's some weirdness going on here, but I don't think it'll matter. I think it's all right. I kind of like it, actually. Like there's white rock under the sand or something like that. So I think it's a real nice contrast between the two minis. So when werewolf, or when this guy has to turn into a werewolf, this guy comes out, and I think that's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of fun. So I'll probably include this werewolf in a showcase video a little later on, but for now, this is it. Things of note that I had some trouble with were, like I said, the teeth. The eyes were a little tricky. Finding the belt was, but after I did that, it was okay. Getting to the underside here was actually pretty difficult. Trying to get under and back around, and that's always hard though when you don't have access to pull them off the base. My paint job is pretty basic. I don't have a lot of like blending techniques or anything like that. So I like how he turned out. Decent mini for beginners, and you can come up with something really decent here at the end. So yeah, like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. And I'll see you next time. Rawr.